In case you missed some of the details, here's a quick screencast to tell you what to expect on the Unit 6 project. This will be our last summative grade before the EOC and the final exam. So you can choose to work alone or with a partner on Part 1. If you work with a partner, you need to choose somebody that you work well with and who will share the work fairly with you. After you do the work, you will present your work on a variety of digital tools. You could use Google Presentation, Prezi, S'more, eMaze, or anything. But do something that will wow your teacher. You will be given class time to work on your project, but are expected to finish outside of class if necessary. You can use both the EOC formula sheet or your graphic organizer that your teacher has given you to assist you. Before you submit your project, be sure to double check the rubric to make sure you have met all the requirements, and then submit your project according to your teacher's directions. So what do you need to do? So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to choose one of 6 options. Your teacher will help you decide which one is best for you. Be sure that as you go through your work that you always show all of your work, whether you do it on paper, graphing calculator, on the computer, whatever method, make sure you show all work, or you're going to have to go back and do that later. So the first thing that you will do is you'll plot the points on the coordinate plane that we're given. You connect the dots in order, and then you'll see some sort of quadrilateral. Once you do that, you'll find the slope of all 4 sides of the shape, and then decide, are the sides parallel or perpendicular or neither? Be sure to justify your answer using the slope criteria we have learned. Then find the length of all your sides. This will be done using the distance formula. We'd like for you to round to the nearest tenth or 1 decimal place. Next, you'll find the area of that shape. Remember to consult your graphic organizer as the area formula is different for most of your shapes. If you use base times height, please remember that the base and the height have to be perpendicular to each other. Then you'll find the midpoint of each side of your quadrilateral. Again, round to the nearest tenth. Now these 4 midpoints, we want to make a new shape. So connect the 4 midpoints to create some new quadrilateral. And lastly, you'll find the perimeter of the internal shape, the new shape that you made in 8. Then, once you've done all that work, you'll create a digital presentation of your material. Remember, you can use any digital format. Extra credit. Do you want to go the extra mile? Then go back and figure out what the equation of each line would be that make up your quadrilateral. So that's part 1. That constitutes 72 points of your grade. The next part is if you work with a partner, you'll be able to evaluate your partner fairly according to the provided rubric. We'll look at that in a minute. If you choose to work alone, you will be exempt from these points. Part 3, you'll assess 2 student work samples or exemplars according to the provided rubric. This will be helpful to probably look at before you finish your own figure. All right, so now let's take a look at, the other directions. So here's your rubric for part 1. So if you'll use this, you can ask yourself when you're done with your project, well, let me look at my slope. Did I calculate all 4 slopes correctly? How could I check that? Think about it. There are different ways you could do that. Did I only do 3 correctly, and so on. Then ask yourself, did I show my work for all 4 slopes? Or did I only show the work for some of them? And continue to go through the rubric and ask yourself, did I do each of these things? You might even want to have a friend, a parent, or a sibling go through these and check your work. So that's up to 72 points, and then remember, 2 points for each correct equation of the sides that make up your quadrilateral. Then you'll go through the partner assessment, and you'll ask yourself, did my partner always listen? Usually listen, sometimes or rarely, and give them a score. Continue to do that. Now, here's what we're going to do today, is we're going to start looking at one of the examples and seeing if they did these things. Okay, so let me open up a work sample real quick, and let's look at the first thing. The first thing was pop points on the coordinate plane. Did they do that? Yes. The next thing we've got to check for is slope. So let's see if they calculated slope. They connected the dots. Here's their slope. So they calculated the slope, and it looks like they showed their work. So the next thing I'd do is probably rework it and make sure they set it up correctly. Then, did they answer the question about opposite sides being parallel? And did they justify talking about the slopes? Continue going on. Did they show they were perpendicular? And so on. So finish going through this exemplar on your own or in class and see if you agree that they did all the work. Consider your own after you do that. So for the last part, we're going to do that one in class together, but you'll choose one of these two to fill out this rubric and then one of these three to fill out the rubric. This will most likely be on a Google form, but you'll need to double check with your teacher. Most importantly, do your very best work, and remember, this is your final test grade. If you have any questions, please let your teacher know. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.